Yes.
All right. So we're just going to start with prompt engineering or artificial intelligence. So like any good teacher, I just put my objectives on there to identify basic AI tools, demonstrate prompt engineering through case studies.
Oops, Karen,
So
I thought I was seeing the slides, but I'm not.
No. Let's try again. Now, do you see my slides?
Yeah, it looks better.
Okay. Okay. So I told you my objectives. I wanted to start out with some ChatGPT sites, just because I know not everybody uses the same site. I found a lot of these. I haven't played with too many. Mark, you may have. These are some of the ones that are out there: ChatGPT, Claude, Microsoft Copilot, Gemini, Perplexity, and I actually just started playing a little bit more with Pictochart. I don't know if anybody's heard of that. But for the most part, I'm going to show you about ChatGPT. So I just pulled a nice little screen snip. So the fundamentals of prompt engineering is just tell AI what to do. You can use it to create text, images, sounds, and use it to create educational rubrics, assignments, case studies. Like there's unlimited possibilities. And I kind of did the typos on purpose because you can see how not picky Chat AI and GPT is. So I wanted to show a couple infographics about good prompts versus bad prompts. So the first one, this one I created with a bad prompt. This was create visual prompt tips for prompting for ChatGPT and AI. There are a lot of typos. Some of it doesn't make any sense. And then if you prompt with something good, you get something really nice. Creating effective prompts is crucial for getting the best results from AI. And this is really what it is. So the basics can be clear and concise. Giving that context, like Mark said, is really key, and then specific examples. So I thought I would just play and kind of make it a little more interactive. So I'm going to jump onto my ChatGPT site. I'm going to start with a couple bad prompts just to kind of show you how to create prompts. Let's see. I wanted to start with, you want to be specific. So if I was just to say, create a menu, let's see what it puts out. It's going to ask me like it's having a conversation. Can you clarify what you're looking for? I will say, I'd like a menu for dinners for a week. It's really basic for those of you who haven't started out. All right, so it's going to create me a whole dinner menu. Looks like a starter, a main course, a side, and dessert. And I hadn't played with this prompt at all. I just kind of thought it up. And I want to encourage you to argue with and challenge ChatGPT. Let's say I have dietary restrictions and cannot have dairy. So let's see if it will revise it for me. So now it's comparing response 1 to response 2. So you can see what it did to change it. Let's see what else. Let's revise this prompt a little bit more. Can you please give me instructions for each and a shopping list? So now it's going to generate everything. So this is more on that day-to-day use, how you can use it. Has anybody used it for non-educational purposes?
All the time.
So it's making this whole list for me. Let's play with another prompt. Let's see, along with food, because it's lunchtime. I'm sorry. We're going to stop this one because it's going to keep going. Give me a list of healthy snacks. Let's see if it actually gives us a list of healthy snacks. Okay, does anybody disagree with anything that you see on here? Is anything not healthy? This one's actually pretty good because it's kind of learned from me what I wanted to do. What was that?
I said it looks pretty good.
Okay. Let's say it gave me chips. I could say chips aren't very healthy. Can I have another idea? So let's use this more like what we're doing in class. Mark mentioned creating a role for our ChatGPT. If you're looking at my screen, you can see some of the things that I have done over the past few months, like creating panel questions, clinical case studies, diversity wheels. But I'm just going to type out a new message to ChatGPT right now. Let's say you are a professor at in a nursing program. Tara, can you give me a topic that you guys talk about?
Hypertension.
Okay. So we gave it a role and we're very specific. So I'm just going to say I want to create multiple choice questions with answers and explanations about hypertension. I'm actually going to add a number in here. I'm going to say 5. Is there anything in question 1 or 2 you disagree with? So argue with it if you'd like me to.
Oh, looks good.
Okay, so we gave it a role. We were really specific. So we're targeting those specific outcomes. And that specificity is really what's going to elevate your prompts, because if you leave it very broad, it might either prompt you to be more specific, or you're going to have to tell it how to get more specific. Let's see, I'll do another case study type. I like to do for my students that you are knowledgeable. I'll do a nursing tutor because I know I have nurses on here. You provide clarification. Let's say you need clarification on a topic or trying to explain a way to dumb it down essentially for students. I'll do hypertension again. So it will generate information, again, from that role-playing point of view. I'm going to pick diuretics, and I'm going to ask it more about diuretics. Can you tell me, like in that conversational method? It'll also suggest, I think it's relatively new. It'll pop up with prompting questions as well. So let's see how it works with all my typos. So let's say your students are using it or you're using it to get more information. Just pick something out of it and ask for those specifics. I know that we talked about making this more of like a working session to show how you can use AI and prompt engineering. What questions are there? Because really it's just playing with it to get the targeted outcomes that you're wanting.
Karen, this is April. So I've had good luck with ChatGPT if I ask it to help me simplify wording in a paragraph or something. But one day I sat down and I asked it to create a graphic syllabus for me, and I must not have given it enough guidance because it didn't do anything. I guess I just don't know how much it needs in terms of guidance. Like, yeah.
Sometimes I have copied and pasted my instructions from an assignment into ChatGPT and had it refine it. So you said a pictorial syllabus?
Yes.
So let's see.
I didn't know if I needed to give it a whole outline. I mean, I don't know how to use it beyond simple, please reword this at a lower grade level or something like that.
So I popped over to a PictoChart because I've been playing with this a little bit today. Let's see what it can do. So create a graphic How many weeks is your class?
This, I don't know. It's one of those micro courses and they have 3 to 5 topics.
Okay, I will just say a 5-week class.
Okay.
On what's your class?
Statistics.
What are some of the main topics that you cover?
Types of data, categories of statistics, common statistical tests.
Okay, let's see what it'll give us. I might have used it too many times today. Let me log in. Let me retype it. My apologies. I was getting too. Let me retype it for you. Sorry, one more time. I don't remember. Common
That's
statistical
okay.
test.
Common statistical tests, categories of statistics.
See what it'll give us. So it's going to break it down into it's already pulling graphics for us.
Huh.
Gives you an objective statistics course. This 5-week course introduces the fundamentals of statistics, covering your objectives. Data types, statistical tests. Did it pull actual statistical tests that you cover?
Yeah.
Okay. Statistics categories and descriptive and inferential. And you can pick all of these different looks of it even. So I can change the whole look of my graphics syllabus now.
Karen, is that
You
a
can
free,
tweak the content.
is that a free app, Karen?
Yes, it's free.
ATO. Sure it is.
And then let's see, edit this infographic. You can change design components, colors, charts. So I can go in now and edit anything I want.
Oh, awesome.
So we just created this on the fly. By telling it again, specifically what we want. We could get way more specific and drill down on what we are wanting from this, but I'm impressed that it pulled t-tests and chi-squared and some of the basics that you want. So another application. Huh. What other
Thanks.
questions? That was a great one, April.
What's up?
I appreciate it.
Hearing his voice out somewhere, but it's somewhere on somebody else.
And I'm happy to, Marlon and Mark, did you get this website or do you want me to send it to you?
Just put it in the chat.
Okay. I will do that
That
before I
way it's
leave.
part of the record. And
Okay. Anything else I can help anybody with before I stop sharing my screen?
awful quiet group over here.
Well, let me know. Yeah, like I said, this is a free website that I've been playing with to see what it will yield. It usually will make you sign in just like Chat AI with your Facebook or your Google account, some kind of email. And then you can just play with it. Yep, I'm going to copy it for you, April. And drop it in the chat before I go to lab. Marlon, Mark, I will turn it over to you.
All All right, thanks for jumping in. I appreciate you taking the time.
You're welcome. I'm happy to help anybody. I think this stuff's fun.
Great. All right, I think we're gonna hand it over to Marlon to talk for a few minutes and then I'll wrap things up at the end.
So I'm displaying something that I did. This was dated November 2023. So this is very early, you know, all the fears about plagiarism come along. And so I'm asking myself, what are my students going to do? So thank you, Karen, for what we can do as faculty or as just people wanting recipes. But, you know, how do we talk to our students about how to use this and use it well? I'm going to go to my English comp class where I assign a lot of little readings. And one of them is a famous feminist piece from the 1970s called Why I Want a Wife, a satirical piece. And I ask people, the students, to come to class with a short response to their reading, 225 words. So my prompt for just testing it, how could they plagiarize, was the exact assignment. Can you critique Judy Brady's essay, Why I Want a Wife, in 225 words? And of course, yes, it can. And so then I thought, well, that's kind of scary, but what if they would write a paper and even quote and so forth? And so I modified my prompt a little bit. Why I Want a Wife, including 2 direct quotations from the essay. Can it do that? And this is November, so we're up to 4.0 now. It may be better now, but in fact, yes, it incorporated 2 direct quotes that were right from the essay. I want a wife who will work and send me to school. You know, this rant here about expectations of men here. But then it rambled off this quote that's not even in the piece at all. And of course, it doesn't cite its sources too. So at that point, at least, I became aware of, you know, knowing the limitations. So what do we do with that? What do I do with that now that I teach students writing and also teach them how best to use artificial intelligence? You'll want to go back through and, you know, look at what the output is, and you'll want to qualify it and make sure that the quotations really are quotations, not hallucinations. That's just one example here. Much later here now, as I'm getting more familiar with the potential of AI for student writing and so forth, I now just display for my students what AI can produce for the assignment I give them. And then we talk about the differences. One of my assignments in English 101 is to critique an article. And so you can put an entire article into the prompt, just so you know. And so tell me in 500 words, what are the strengths and weaknesses of this essay? And then cut and paste, here's the article. And that's a 1,000-word article. What are the strengths and weaknesses? And I asked it to tell me the strengths and weaknesses, and it gives a list. Notice that that helps the student, though, to start categorizing, critiquing. It engages their critical thinking. These are some of the categories of analysis, evaluation I could bring to this project. It's a list, though. It's not an essay. But of course, it doesn't stop there. And what are the students going to do? Well, take this list and write me an essay. My professor wants me an essay. So here's my prompt now. Turn the above outline into a 775-word essay. And then, of course, you put that entire outline into the prompt. And what does it do? It churns out an essay, including headings all the way through. Strengths of the argument, 1, 2, 3. Weaknesses of the argument, 1, 2, 3. And you're done. Well, what do I want to do if I want to make it my own, though? I display this to my students and I say, you know, this just doesn't read like there's a heart in it, that somebody cares about the weaknesses of this piece that is about, actually, it's about AI cheating. This was an article about AI cheating. So what do we do with this to make it my own? How do we put my own voice in this, my own heart? While the author presents individual cases of AI achieving, the essay is notably lacking in broader statistical. It just doesn't read as a person. So what do we do with that? And then I display for the class, one of the more successful, I guess I don't have it here, one of the more successful students' actual papers, which I have to tell the class I like better than this churning output here from AI. But again, what do students do is a question we should ask, and then help those students do it right. I have one other thing to display, but maybe I should stop there. If anybody has any experiences with what students do with their prompts, and how do you guide them through the prompt in their own AI work? Do you get to that conversation with your students? Anyone?
You know, Marlon, I have really struggled with whether it's okay to even imply that they have used AI. I just am afraid to insult someone if they tell me, no, that's my own work. So I've not gotten to that part for guiding them.
Yeah, this is Chris. I haven't either, but I've been wanting to. I just feel like I need to get the framework and then bring that up before they write their paper for my course.
Often for me, it takes place like in an individual conference. So a student is, let's say, struggling just to get started. And my prompt questions humanly to them, well, what are some examples of your motivation that you could find from your own memory? And just nothing comes out. Or what do you think are some of the motivations most people have for really doing great work, and whatever the topic is? And nothing is coming out. And I asked them, well, have you tried ChatGPT? And then the answer is no. And I think it's a sincere answer. Well, let's try it together, so give them the computer, type into this prompt bar, what are some motivations people have for doing good work? And then, it does churn out a list. And then which one of those do you identify with yourself? Which one reminds you of a story you could tell about your own motivation? And then gets that going more individual, personal direction. But you're right. You're right. We're right at the beginning stages here of this interaction with our students over these things. And I think so far, some of the interactions have been really tinged with all this penalizing tone and so forth. And so anyone else interact with your students about these things?
At our doctoral orientation, we talk about it, or we talk about scholarly writing and like their scholarly project and stuff. And so we have been bringing it up there. And I think initially, like Dr. Wade was like nervous and was like, just bury it. We're not going to tell them anything. But now she's kind of come around and has seen the value of it because she's been using it too. But we tell them, use it as a tool to generate ideas or topics, like you just said. But then I just had a thought too, like I have some that have reached out because they're kind of struggling with their proposal, or what they're going to do for their doctoral scholarly project. And so I just had the thought that they could be using ChatGPT for that purpose, like to put a topic, or I want to do this, like the intervention be, or like using it that way to kind of help them narrow down their project to something that's more doable. So that might be helpful to them.
Of course, it doesn't start with just the brainstorming ability of ChatGPT. And we've already seen with Karen's display, you can ask it to refine what you have. And I think that's another conversation to have with students. Once they get a draft together, maybe it's too long, or maybe it's wordy. Can we put that draft into ChatGPT and see what it churns out? But always telling students, you do have to read that thing before you turn it in, and make sure that you don't want to tweak some of those things that it said that really are not your own voice, and probably add some of your voice to it.
Some other conversation pieces I like in there, what are the pros and cons of this approach? Or what are the objections I might face? How do I overcome those objections? Those are all tools that I use a lot because I carry on conversations with it to really dig a little deeper.
Let me show you one more thing here, just a application in my daily work here to using API prompts and prompts and prompts and prompts until we get it right. And it's actually something you might be real familiar with by now if you've been attending these things. As you know, NMC now has a statement on AI that is going into the syllabus template. And so where did that come from? Well, Amy Clark charged Mark, Karen, and I to write it. So we drafted some stuff out there. Here's our first, draft. Pretty wordy, kind of long. And so, well, let's try and see if ChatGPT can help us with this position statement on AI. And so what do? We put the whole statement in there, rephrase this statement of 180 words down to 80 to 100 words. And it takes the whole prompt, of course, and here's the output here. But you don't stop there. You'll see a lot of highlighting there, problematic phrasing. The word improper, for example, just gives this negative vibe. And so we humanly, we put our brains to this and we tried to personalize this and slightly edited it down here. This is all in preparation for presenting to the cabinet, an extended cabinet. And even this was 143 words. And so we asked ChatGPT to take it down to 105 words, pretty close to where we're at. Took that to the extended cabinet, got their feedback from human beings. They were not using ChatGPT, I don't think, to give us feedback. And
We're pretty fast if they did.
And then we took their feedback and created a list of bullet points and with highlighted words. And then you'll see actually living now in the Faculty Information Center is a tab called AI at NMC. We want to tackle this head on. We want to be transparent about what we believe about it. And this is the final draft. But it was a process, and it was a process among human beings and cabinet meetings and so forth, but it also involved help from ChatGPT. So just so you know, that's where it came from. Now, Mark has some other topics, I think. Right?
So, yeah, so we'll hit just a few more. One I wanted to follow up on, let me pull back here and share my screen for a second. A lot of people may or may not know this, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of jump out here. One of the tools that I use a lot and Spencer uses a lot is Canva. And the marketing department does have access to Canva. So it will generate an awful lot of, how many of you are using Canva now? A lot of you probably are. They actually have an online AI image generator that you can now use as part of the Canva piece. So it will do a lot of the work that you've done in Canva, but you can actually go out to the website, AI-image-generator as part of the Canvas slide, and I'll copy that and paste that in the chat here real quick. We'll put it up after, I'll stay on my presentation here, but now you can get a free AI image generator. So you can go ahead and generate images at that site, and you can choose either images or graphics or video, and you can have it generated right within Canva itself.
You can't believe everything you see.
No, you really can't. So you can choose graphics or true images. So what style do I want this looking at? So let's do some hand-drawn images. Spencer, is this what you use for your slides or for your deck? For your charts?
Yes.
So let's do graphics and hand-drawn. And I would like medical education simulation. If I can type today. Hit return. And it will go out and generate those images so I can drop those into my Canva pieces of work very easily as well. So some great tools out there for just some simple kinds of things. So I guess what I would look at in this is, it used to be that I really focused on the text-based side of the world. And it's really changed up to where now it can be part of graphics or images or different tools. So here we've got more of a graphic and animation kind of look to it, but you can actually have full-on pictures generated through the images. So lots of great tools that you can grab. So no longer is it that, hey, I gotta go get a graphic artist to draw this up, or I don't dare put any pictures in because I'm afraid of copyright or those kinds of things. I can really just generate this right in Canva. And if it's not quite what I wanted, I can go ahead and generate again. I can go back to that iterative process and go back. You'll notice that I've used a whopping 10 credits of my 500 credits a month that I get. So you get 500 credits per month to go back and generate images. So lots of great tools out there from within Canva. So you can certainly use the Pictograph that Karen was showing, but also know Canva's out there, and there are a number of other tools that really work in that graphic side of the world as well. The other piece I wanted to go, and I use this a lot, but I want to make sure people know about this one because it's one that a lot of students ask for all the time. So somebody give me a textbook that they're currently working with or using.
This is April. I use Cosby and Bates behavioral research methods.
Here's my typing again. Bates, and what was it? Behavioral research.
Behavioral research methods.
What chapter are you working on right now?
Say chapter 4.
Chapter 4. Very good. How's it doing?
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's not perfect, but it certainly gives
No,
the
not
student.
perfect.
What's that?
Yeah, it's kind of mixed developmental lifespan with behavioral research, which is interesting.
Yeah. So this is again, that idea of you really do need to be iterative on it. And that's kind of what I was hoping would happen. How about the terms? Did it give you the right, go back up and take a look at the terms?
It looks like they're defined correctly. I just wouldn't have said all that content is actually in chapter 4.
Okay, yeah. So you can reduce that. There's lots of things you can do, but the other side that I really like in this is that French may be my standard way to learn, and I have a huge cognitive load because now I've got to try to translate from English to French in that. So please write this in French.
Oh, wow.
So now your student has their study guide written in French. The power of this is that it's trained in virtually every book known to man. So you can imagine not every book's written in English. So it's learning all of the other languages at the same time that it's learning the content. So this takes a lot of that cognitive load off the students to where they can have the material that maybe you handed to them converted to French or Malagasy or Swahili or just about any other language that's out there, so that they can study in the language of their choice and then turn around and yes, they'll have to repeat it in English, but it takes that cognitive load of learning off to where I can actually comprehend this without trying to do a translation in the middle. So there's an awful lot of tools, and it's really starting to just stop to think about how this can be used and how many different ways we can put it together. Does anybody have to write their annual reports? All kinds of fun, isn't it? So what I did, I scrubbed it for names, but let's actually start a new chat here. So, chat. And let's take it now works with data as well. So I've got a sample data file here that's a lot of different stuff from our surveys that we've done. There's
If you
about
go
7
downstairs, you
I'm sorry, what's that? Okay, so I've got 17 pages of data here that's different mixed numeric data and just different kinds of data in there. So we can take this data file and simply drag that down to our message and then say summarize this. So now I can see a summary. And again, what suggestions to improve? And yeah, I put Midland in there to throw people. Don't want them coming back to us, right?
We know Midland can improve.
Yeah. But you can start to see all of the different places where that iterative process of carrying on a conversation rather than simply asking it the question, but also being able to provide your data is a really interesting piece. So you can get all kinds of different data sets, drop that data in, you can refer to places. So maybe we want to target southern Omaha, south part of Omaha. You can actually put the zip codes in and say, based on this, how would you design a marketing program to hit these zip codes? What recommendations would you have? That's predominantly Hispanic population. They're probably going to say Spanish. I can actually have this turn my marketing stuff into Spanish language instead. So lots of ways to really think about how to use this to analyze data as well. So I certainly used this to help write my annual report this year. And it was really handy to pull that data in. We talked a little bit about images. The other one that I had a kind of a fun assignment to do, I actually had to write a radio spot advertising, and it had to be a total of 2 minutes. So I thought, well, this would be fun. I'll go ahead and write kind of what I want my message to be. But then I want this to be fun and engaging instead of kind of the boring old Mark stuff. So I said, write this now. I had a little 30-second blurb. Write this as Elvis Presley. And then write this as Wolfman Jack. But then the next step that I did is you can actually, once you have the text, you can use a tool like VoiceDub. And I can go in and now you can apply any of the different voices that you want. So it reads your text as that personality.
Wow.
So what I came up with, we have Wolfman Jack and Elvis. So I had
This
to
audio
dub in
contains
the
sound that is artificially generated
owl.
and that is neither produced by nor associated with whomever it may appear to be. Generate your own at voicedub.ai.
Oh! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is your Howlin' Wolfman Jack coming at you from the golden days of rock and roll. And I've got a question for you. Are you getting those bad reviews about your students' struggle?
So all kinds of fun things that you can do with that. We've got a little bit different take on things here.
This audio contains sound that is artificially generated and that is neither produced by nor associated with whomever it may appear to be. Generate your own at voicedub.ai.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. This is the king talking to you. Now let me ask you something. Are your students feeling all shook up trying to follow your course in the LMS?
So you can see that you can have some fun with it. So instead of just having your own voice, being able to put your own personality or actually someone else's personality into your content, it's kind of a fun way to just shake things up. So lots of tools out there now that you can work with video, you can work with audio. Some of the video tools that are out there now are absolutely amazing to where I can't tell the difference between a live video production and something created off of a paragraph. So lots of tools and places to go. Certainly scary sides of this, so we all need to stay posted in what's there and keep track of things, but also some kind of fun tools and some fun ways to have a little fun with your students as well. So, all right. Any other questions or things that you bumped into as you went along with the AI tools? Awfully quiet over there.
I'm still getting
I
a
thought
lot
the
of,
voices,
go ahead.
oh, sorry, this is April. I was just gonna say, I thought the voices were fun. I just don't know. I mean, what I would do with that? Do you put that in like your audio note in Brightspace, or like how could you use that?
That's one, I just wanted people to see the technology, and I think there's gonna be some really creative ways to start to put that together. So you could certainly have it read some of your assignments to the students, just to shake things up. I mean, there's a lot of different, what's that?
I said, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just, I want people to know kind of what's out there for two reasons. One, how can I use it in class? But two, based on that disclaimer, these voices are gonna do nothing but get better. What do we have to look out for as far as scammers and scams and fake news and all of those things? So it's not only how do I use it in class, but what do I need to be aware of? It's getting pretty scary to where one of them that I thought was an interesting one that really bothered me some when I went back to the home, make a voice dub now, you can train your own voice.
Then they have it.
That's exactly my concern is if you train your own voice, that becomes part of their library. There's a lot of times that I've been asked to confirm on the phone that I said something. And I think I'm talking to one person and I may be talking to somebody entirely different. So I'm very careful about how I use this and I want to make sure people know about this. So that was the other reason I kind of brought this up, was it wasn't just, okay, I'm going to use this in my class, but what do you need to be aware of out in the world now? That, your spouse used this and now all of a sudden you get a phone call that says, hey, I need to do this. It may or may not be them, but you recognize their voice. That I just want to make sure people are aware of those kinds of things. So that's part of it as well. I think there's some interesting things that you could start to do to engage students with the voices. It could be fun, but at the same time, just be aware. Any other thoughts out there? How many of you have seen the video clip of Sal Khan using it to teach triangles to his son? Anybody seen that? I show it quite a bit, but I'm not sure if this group's seen it.
I don't think I have.
Pull that one really quick because that's an interesting place as to where education's going. If anybody's got a question while I pull that, fire away with questions and I'll pull this presentation up. What's the saying on Saturday Night Live? Talk amongst yourself. Yeah.
Coffee talk.
Yeah, talk amongst yourself. Yeah, there we go. I had one easily accessible here. There we go. So this is kind of an interesting piece and where they're going with it, and it could have some serious education impacts.
OpenAI invited myself and my son Imran here to try out some of their new technology. And so we're curious about how good it might be at tutoring someone in math on Khan Academy. So let's get it started.
Well, they're doing that. Sal Khan is the founder of Khan Academy.
See our screen.
Actually, in this form.
Hello there. I'm here with my son, and I'd love you to tutor him on this math problem. but don't give him the answer. You can ask questions and nudge him in the right direction, but I really want to make sure he understands it himself. And he's here in the room, so you can talk to him directly.
Of course, I'd be happy to help. Let's look at the problem together. Can you first identify which sides of the triangle are the opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse relative to angle alpha?
All right, so I'm pretty sure this is the angle alpha right here, right?
Perfect. That's correct. Now, looking at the triangle, which side do you think is the hypotenuse?
Really,
Remember the hypotenuse?
I'm not totally sure. I think it might be this one, but I really am not sure. This side AC.
You're close. Actually, side AC is called the adjacent side to the angle alpha. The hypotenuse is the longest side of a right triangle and is directly opposite the right angle. Can you find which one is the hypotenuse?
Oh, okay, I see. So I think the hypotenuse is this really long side from A to B. Would that be correct?
Exactly. Well done. Now that you've identified the hypotenuse, can you identify which side is the opposite side?
So kind of an interesting take on that. What technologies did you see?
Voice recognition, voice synthesis, mathematical calculations and terms,
It uses a camera so it can see,
camera.
and it can not only see you, but it can see the screen. So again, some huge implications as far as education goes, but also some things you certainly want to be aware of, that now knowing AI could be collecting not only your voice, but your visual images as well. So again, powerful technology, but sometimes a little too powerful and a little bit scary, to be honest. So again, one of those things that I can certainly see where this could help students. At the same time, I'm a little bit concerned about how is that information going to be used? Saw a translational tool that they actually programmed AI by talking to it. And it was a really tough programming piece that they put together. They wanted to program a translator. So they opened up the audio piece so they could talk to it. And they said, hey, my friend and I are here, and she only speaks Italian and I only speak English. So every time that you hear an Italian phrase, please say it again in English. And every time you hear an English phrase, say it in Italian. And then it instantly translated their conversation back and forth between the two of them. Imagine how that could be used in your classroom, to where a student sitting in the classroom says, gee, I'd like to translate this to French. They put their earbud in and they listen to your lecture now in French.
I could see that really helping our students when they're working with patients who don't speak English as well.
Exactly. So some incredibly powerful tools, but at the same time, it's just something we've got to be careful of. Any other questions before we wrap things up? Kind of fun where it's going? Hang on for an interesting ride. This is the fastest moving technology I've seen in being in the industry 40 years. It migrates and changes and what's the word I'm looking for? Manipulates itself, evolves, I guess is where I'm looking. In the last 18 months, it's evolved faster than anything I've ever seen in 40 years. So it's going to be an interesting ride. Right. Well, thanks everybody, and we have plenty of pizza here. So if you're sitting in the group out there and want to walk over, you're welcome to pizza here in the Create Lab. Thanks a bunch, everybody.
Thanks for the tools.
You bet.